So the way I found you, watching manosphere stuff, red pill stuff, how to date girls, how to talk to girls, blah, blah, blah on YouTube for literally years. Off and on, somehow, I think I had run into you and seen maybe one or two videos randomly. I want to say that it was through Derek from More Plates, More Dates. It was an interview with him and Chris. And so I got onto GLL and I'm like, I think I've been on this website before, like a long time ago. I can't remember. I was looking at the articles. Okay, cool. And then I saw you made a post on there. You said, hey guys, everything's pretty much dead in here. This is my website, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, click. And then rest was history, dude. Like, I was like, oh shit, he's got proof. He's got pictures. He's like showing like actual text messages that he's sent people. Like he's actually showing the proof where like almost nobody ever shows anything. You know what I mean? That's how it happened.
God bless good looking Lisa.
Yeah, dude, like finding him, because Chris was pretty much inactive at that point for probably a long time. So going to your stuff and then slowly you keep recommending his old channel or the old videos that he had. And there's like some of them I think on
Vimeo. Yeah, he's got
Vimeo
a lot of old videos
or other
on Vimeo.
ones. Yeah. There's other backups. And so watching his old stuff, I'm like, oh shoot. So it's cool to like find good content, and then find old content that's like also amazing and it's still applicable. So it's really awesome.
Man. One of my favorite things to do is go through his old content and to try and like keep it alive. And so I'll do a video where I just read out one of his articles. I give my own take on it and talk about how it affected me and all of that. It is crazy that like 10 or 15 years later, that shit's still really relevant and really helpful. Because I think he was hinting, or he was getting at a deeper truth. He even said this in several articles. His website was never just about getting laid or getting sex. Like that's not that difficult a problem to overcome. Right. It was about that deeper shit, like who you become in that journey to get towards that goal.
Absolutely. And that's how I feel about it too, is because really when it comes to what you do and what I'm trying to do on YouTube, and it's really self-improvement as a whole. It's about being a whole person, doing everything that you've always wanted to do, living the life that you've always wanted. And women is a part of that. Sex is super important. And I think that a lot of guys, especially me, being raised super conservative and other things like that, not that being conservative is bad, but just there's a lot of sexual shame and things like that that come up oftentimes through that. And so you kind of downplay that it's not important. Oh, I shouldn't think about that. But then when you do finally tackle it, like Chris and like you have said, take care of the girls first, and then everything else starts falling into place, because that huge obstacle, that huge like drive that you have, you've taken care of it. And now you're like, oh shit, I'm not stressed about this anymore. I'm not worried about it. It's not eating at me in the back of my head. Now I can work on a business or start getting healthier, or probably you got healthier while you were chasing girls because you wanted to go to the gym, blah, 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 blah. It's all connected. And so it is more than just about the women. It is absolutely a part of it, but it's the totality of it. Super awesome.
Was there a big hurdle for you to overcome with the sexual shame stuff that you're talking about? Because I had a ton of sexual shame, man. And for me, it didn't come from religion, but I had so much sexual shame.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's so much religion in and of itself. I mean, I was raised Christian, and I'm very grateful for being raised Christian. I'm super grateful that my dad taught me how to pray. Literally, since a little kid, we kneel down every night, always saying prayers, always reading the Bible. That's fine. But it was more the atmosphere of the types of people and the kind of like the way the people act that kind of brings that shame on you, or just plain old ignoring sex and not even talking about it. Like, so you don't know what the fuck's going on. My dad never gave me the talk. My mom never gave me the talk. Technically, I shouldn't know where babies come from. Literally, no one ever talked to me. And I went to a Christian school throughout my entire life, from kindergarten all the way to college. So technically no one ever had to talk with me. But more than that, it was just, there was family issues. I don't want to go into that or pick on any family members at this moment, but kind of shame around just being a man, of just like being a masculine man. Just kind of that shame where you need to downplay it or whatever. Just all these things added up to, I just felt like if I was to tell a girl that I liked her, she would instantly know that I wanted to have sex with her, and then that was gross and that they were going to hate it. No one ever told me that, but you know what I mean? Yeah. That like literally me just pursuing her and like asking her out on a date would instantaneously reveal my true intentions of wanting to like sleep with her, and then she would be disgusted.
Which is such a barrier to intimacy as well, because that basically means I can't ever have an intimate relationship.
Exactly. And I remember as a small child, and I have no idea how I came up with this, but I remember thinking to myself, even though I had crushes on girls and stuff like that, that, oh, well, if a girl likes me, she'll tell me.
I used to have that same bullshit
That's like,
too, yeah.
Like complete opposite, you know what I mean? But I was a little kid. It's not like I was being willfully ignorant. This is what I felt through various things in my life, and kind of felt that way later on. And then by the time I was an adult and knew I needed to do something, super social anxiety, super introverted, always upset, always being super critical, being super negative, pessimistic. And I picked that up from a certain family member as well. And so it like was very hard for me to be likable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was that guy that was always showing up on time and being upset that all my friends didn't show up and where is everybody and why are you guys taking forever and blah, blah. I was that, like
the
that
good
guy.
boy. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a good boy that did what I was supposed to do. I was straight edge until I was 28. Even though all my friends that were still in Christian school, they were drinking a little bit here and there, doing whatever. But I was like super straight laced and like, yeah, dude. So I had to overcome that slowly. And I think like most guys, it usually takes like a massive breakup where I finally got a girlfriend. It was difficult, but I got one and it was great. And then it ended. And then I'm like, what the fuck? You know?
Yeah.
And then that's
how did you start
on the path?
How did you start untangling some of those, maybe the word is like programming, or some of those like beliefs or notions around, you know, sex is bad, masculinity is bad, all of that? Because you're clearly a very masculine guy. You're one of the most masculine guys I've had in the coaching group. Like, how did you step into that?
I think it was when you're, again, watching all the red pill content and all the fucking complaining about women and stuff. And I never hated women. I was never angry at women like these fucking modern day hoes and blah, blah. No, I had frustrations with specific women that wouldn't date me or whatever. But I didn't have to overcome any red pill rage. But I think that after reading enough of that content to see, okay, women seem to be, and I know we don't want to talk in, you know, language that covers everyone, but it seems to be the general thrust of femininity is that they appreciate and they are drawn to masculine men who go after what they want, who say what they mean what they say, that if a woman is testing them, kind of poking them, kind of giving them a little bit of shit, you know, a shit test, that the man's not going to back down, and et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, well, I guess it is very masculine to kind of stick to your ideals, stick to your morals, things that my dad had taught me, not necessarily about women liking it, but just his general, you know, you need to stick to your moral code and this is what we believe, blah, blah, blah. And I was kind of just like, okay, I think that's what being a man is. And I only recently kind of figured it out, finally, verbally. Like, to me, a man is, and I guess a woman could do this too, but a manly man is a man who knows what he believes, knows what he wants, and he sticks by it. And that he goes and does what he says he is going to do. That he sticks by his moral code and is willing to suffer the consequences. He's willing to be uncomfortable because he believes this to be right. And that kind of stepping into it is like, oh, well, girls like masculine men. Wish I could say, I'm just doing this for me, bro. But, you know, you got to start somewhere, right? But as the time progressed, you see like, oh, just with BDSM and other things, exploring sex, finally talking to girls. Okay, girls want nice pictures. Girls want guys with muscles. Girls want this. And you slowly start to realize like, yeah, but I like that too. I like superheroes. I like the way superheroes look. They look buff. Like, I think that's cool. You know, I like to get the things that I want out of life. I like to be assertive. Like, that feels great. And so you start to fall into your all for the pursuit of pussy. You finally realize like, this is actually making me a better man by actually pursuing women. And that's what I've come to believe, is that pickup game absolutely makes you a better person if you're doing it holistically, because all the things that it takes more or less to attract women successfully is improving you. It's making you a better person. I mean, I would hope so. And you start to come into that role. And then when I pursued BDSM and was learning about that, I realized that these women that I was experiencing this with were happy to experience that. They were
Was there a feeling?
overjoyed.
Was there like a worry before you started, you know, BDSM and just being more masculine and stepping into that role? Was there a worry that like, oh, women will hate this and I'll have to almost convince them to have sex and BDSM and all of this?
Sort of. But I think, again, it was just me being able to break through the barrier of being honest about my intentions of just wanting to have sex, period. And going through that whole, you know, learning process of using Tinder, using your Tinder guide, which is fucking great, by the way. Being super honest and straightforward. Shout out to Alan Roger Curry, Mode 1. Being super honest about what you want. Doing that experience is like, oh, some of them said yes. Well, what more could I ask for and them say yes to? Oh, shit. What if I just be confident, even though I'm not, and just lead the way and just ask questions and just be super honest? And yeah, started working. And so the BDSM thing, I wasn't super worried about it. It was more just like, okay, I'll ask them and see, do you want to progress to this? Do you want to try bondage? Do you want to try ropes? Do you want to try this? Do you want to try spanking? What do you want to do? And it really wasn't too bad. I would say that just like anything else, it's just baby steps. And it doesn't have to be, like, I like this is something that you've said on the coaching program. It doesn't have to be misery. It doesn't have to be this big scary thing.
It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be a struggle. Yeah.
Right. Like, yeah, there are things that are tough, but you don't have to be like shaking in your boots, like scared. If you can push through that, great. But like, if you baby step things, like what I kind of did with sex a lot of the time, and just slowly get a little bit more brave, get a little bit more courageous, be a little bit more of a leader, you'll get told no, and like, okay, but it doesn't hurt, and you don't feel like, ah, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
Just took my time, so it wasn't too bad for me once I got over the hurdle of initially asking for the sex. That was the main scary thing.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly how I learned BDSM as well, the same as you. People build it up into this big thing. I think people build sex itself into this big thing. But for me, it was just I'll try something, I'll see how that goes. I'll see if she likes it, I'll ask if she wants to try something else. And taking those like initial baby steps and then slowly building upon that foundation. I feel like that's the answer to the gym, to self-improvement, to sex, to dating, to relationships, definitely to BDSM. Coming from that like religious background. Okay, here's my question, I guess. For people that are very like religious and have all of this, and I know you said you weren't crazy religious, but have like the conservative values and upbringing around sex, was there almost a feeling that sex was like, I don't want to say anticlimactic, but like when you really start pursuing it, when it's been built up by a religion or by a conservative background to be this big scary thing, and then when you actually try sex, was there a little bit of a feeling of like, oh, was that it? And in a good way, but like, did you have any feelings of like something terrible will happen if I have all of this sex and admit to women that I'm interested in them, and then nothing bad happens, and it's almost a feeling of like, what was I so worried about? This was just sex.
Well, I don't think the sex part of like, oh, is this it? No, I totally loved it and it was fucking awesome. So I was
Of
like,
course,
oh,
I mean more like
this is really fucking great. But
it's like you're
not
expecting
like,
fire and brimstone or something, and the whole world to fall apart, and then nothing happens.
No, not to be too specific and not to, piss anybody off too much, but I was raised as a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. And there's some differences. I don't want to go into too much detail because it's boring. But one of the main tenets, very strict, very religious, trust me, but there's no belief in actual fire and brimstone that you're suffering forever. It's like that happens at the end of the world and everybody's wiped out and that's it. And then you're done. Like, that's it. So I was never, not like Catholic, like, oh shit, I'm going to be burning in hell forever because I did these things. It was never like that. It was more just the shame of asking for it or pursuing it and then having the female, oh, that's great, I can't believe you, like that judgment.
More like a fear of her
other
reaction.
People. Yeah, fear of other people's judgment of me, that I'm being bad, that I'm being, disgusting. So it really wasn't too much tied into my religion, as it was just, again, the culture around it of that, like, your mom, your dad didn't want to talk about it. Old ladies were going to be like, I can't believe you're talking about that kind of thing. Yeah,
the general puritanical and the vilification of the masculine. Anything masculine or anything sexually masculine is automatically assumed to be bad. And if it's feminine, it's beautiful. It's her exploring herself or getting in touch with her feminine roots, and she's allowed a giant vibrator that she can just shove down there and go to town, and that's exploring. But if a man gets a little bit turned on or happens to be attracted to a woman, that's kind of vilified. And you're right that often in communities, it's not even actively said. It's not like anybody said to you, hey, sex is evil and you're a piece of shit if you ever like a woman. But it's that general air of weirdness around it and the fact that nobody talks about it and nobody addresses it that makes you think, oh, this must be some secret shameful thing that's only me. Maybe I'm the only one feeling this and everyone else is pure and beautiful and I'm the piece of shit who thinks that woman over there is beautiful and I want to, I don't know, tickle her toes or whatever it is that you might be into. No judgment from me. But
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That it is this secret thing that you don't know. You just literally don't know. You have these feelings. You talk to your friends, obviously. And of course, you and I are millennials. So I grew up in a home that didn't have a computer. Like, I remember a time before cell phones.
Yep.
And so, like, we were lucky if a friend somehow found a magazine. Yeah. And we'd all, you'd fucking go gather around and you'd all be looking at the magazine together and shit. So it's like exposure to sex was so rare and you only shared it with your friends, maybe. But like, as far as adults explaining things, even if they were to explain to you what a sperm is, what an egg is, the deeper context of what it means to be male and female attracted to each other. This is beautiful. This is great. You do need to be careful, but this is going to be fulfilling. It isn't everything in your life, but it is a major part of your life, blah, blah, blah. None of that was addressed. None of that was talked about. And so you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's part of why I resonated so much with that kind of content, why I've started doing that. or been doing that kind of content myself. And obviously that's a big part of what's on your channel. Do you cover sex much? I've been on your channel. You cover a lot of stoicism and masculinity.
I haven't yet. Part of me is just like, I guess maybe it's like insecurity still a little bit, that it's like, I haven't slept with enough girls to be, you know, like saying this. I haven't had enough girls sign BDSM contracts for me to be able to, you know, it's not really true. But I do plan definitely on talking a lot about that. I've just kind of worried about like making that topic and then it explode. And then like I'm typecast as that guy when it's like, I do want to talk more than that, you know? But it's like, I'm just not sure yet, but I will definitely be covering that on my channel a lot. And I do talk about dating and stuff like that too. But it's like, yeah, I will definitely be covering that because that was a big part of my life and a big thing that I had to overcome. And it's such a relief, man. Such a relief that after I started using your Tinder guide and other people's Tinder guide and, you know, bought some online courses and started getting better pictures and all that stuff, and finally started making matches and finally going out on dates and finally getting lays, dude, literally, I'm like looking in the mirror and I'm like, yes, you fucking did it. Like, this is real. It's really happening. And it was just this weight lifted off my fucking shoulders. And it's like, I don't even have to worry about this anymore. Like, it's cool. I feel validated. I feel I'm wanted for my masculine energy. That part of me that I was ashamed of is actually desirable, is actually wanted. And that's great.
Yeah, the pursuit of sex, as you said, if you do it in a self-improvement context, can be so unbelievably healing, man. It's almost like these goals that we set of like, maybe I want to have a lot of sex or just a little bit more sex, or maybe I want to make some money, or I want to start a channel and help people, whatever it might be. It's the vessel for self-improvement. It's the vessel for spiritual connection, for reaching for that divine and going, I want a little bit more connection to, I don't know, something greater, some greater meaning. This can't be all that there is, me sitting here with shame about my sex drive and unhappy with where I am. I think it's a beautiful vessel, man, for something deeper.
Absolutely, bro.
Was BDSM that for you? Yeah, go.
First of all, I want to say that, Andy, you played a part in that for me. Like, there were several other content creators, but man, you really helped me believe by seeing the proof, by seeing like your process and by seeing your journey, that you were terrible at it, scared of it, and all this other stuff, and that you were able to make it. And then now you're a fucking, in comparison to everybody, to the average person, you are literally God tier as far as that is concerned. But you made it seem, if I can do it, you sure as hell can too. That's your thing. And it's like, it made me believe. So thank you for that. And then, yes, BDSM definitely was that for me, to really lean into being a leader, lean into seeing how I can bring that submissive side out to make a woman feel safe, to make her feel comfortable with me, to explore things and to see how she responds, what is actually turning her on, what is actually, you know, this inner drive that she has to want to submit. And not all girls are going to be into that, obviously, but many of the girls I find just like, they're so happy to do so. And it's like, once you see that, once you see them go into subspace and like the aftercare, and you're talking to them and they're like so happy and they're like, this is so great, and oh my God, like praising you, you're like, yeah, this is awesome, this is great. And it really just makes you grow to be more comfortable in yourself, in your own skin.
You mentioned leadership there with BDSM. Was that a role you stepped into immediately, or did you sort of have to play around with these concepts before you took on that sort of, because I see you as like, you very much have the same dynamic with the women that you sleep with and do BDSM with as I do, where you're like the facilitator, I call it, where it's like you see your role, or you've stepped into the role as the woman comes to me and whatever she's into, I help facilitate that. I'm here for her pleasure and obviously your own pleasure as well. But, you know, I want what she wants. Was that a role you stepped into immediately, or did you have to play around and figure that out?
As far as like being a facilitator, absolutely. Like I am not a sadist. Like I do not derive pleasure from seeing someone in pain. Like I hate slasher films. I hate, gory.
I
violence.
cannot watch
hate
that stuff,
shit.
dude. I can't watch like
So,
angry
like,
heavy metal
you know what I
music.
mean?
Yeah.
Like I can listen to heavy metal. I'm a heavy metal dude. Like that's how I started, but it was never gore stuff or like super violent, like slasher stuff. But like when it comes to thinking of other people getting, I don't like that shit. But it is like, and I hate the term service dom or service top or whatever, because that's not how I feel about it either. It's just I want to explore my aggression and explore my masculinity and have that facilitate, be the reason that she is enjoying herself. If she's not enjoying herself, I'm not enjoying myself, right? Like that's how I feel. It's like if she's not orgasming, or if she's not able to have a fantastic time and feel open and just be like, oh, this is great, I'm having such a good time, I'm not happy. So yes, being a facilitator, like I want to figure this out. What does she like? What can I do with my masculinity and my personality? What can I do to help her? Because a lot of men and women, they don't know what they like.
Yeah, I know.
They're used to some basic shit. They don't get it, They're either used to porn, which is completely fucking different from real life, and or they just have had such terrible experiences in the past with past boyfriends or whatever. Nobody's taken the time to work with them, to discover things they've always thought about trying, but their boyfriend will just say, ew, that's gross, I don't want to, even if you don't want to do it, don't tell her that she's awful about it.
Yeah.
Just say, oh, yeah, maybe someday you could try. I'm not really into that, but, let's try something else. Like, it's cool. Like, that non-judgmental atmosphere that you can provide as a dom is also super important. You're providing the vibe, if you will, that she can
like
just
the space,
trust in you. Yeah, she can trust in you, be safe, and that you can explore together. And so, yeah, I feel like I fell into that pretty much instantaneously. Like, I want to please her. I want to find a way to help her enjoy herself, because that's how I enjoy myself.
Yeah, you derive pleasure from seeing your partner in pleasure. On the topic, man, of like negative experiences, and you're saying that some of these women have come to you and said, maybe they tried to open up to a boyfriend and he didn't take it well. Do you know how many times I've had that conversation with a woman? Hey, and it's you hear some wild stuff where she's wanted to try, I don't know, bondage or something, and she's wanted to try it for literally years, and she's finally, bless her heart, and I respect the fuck out of it, worked up the courage to just either have a bottle of wine one night and just go, fuck it, tonight's the night that I'm going to tell him I want him to tie me up. And she's put all of this thinking and effort and longing and wanting this thing. And then finally she's like, honey, do you think maybe you could try tying me up? And then he just, I've heard stories where he's just like, why would I do that? That's what sluts do. And then it's like, her self-esteem just comes crumbling down, right? And she's like, all right, I guess I never open up to my boyfriend ever again. I guess I can't fucking trust him. And he's doing his best, but fuck, man. Like, do you have any wild stories like that of a woman just telling you something? And
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll say, because again, caveat, little story, is that like I did not lose my virginity until I was like 21. So I had zero experience. And then when it did happen, it was basically like she was basically jumping on me, and like I knew she just made it so obvious, right? So I had zero experience as far as like how to handle girls, how to talk to girls for years after that, because I was an incel. That happened for a little bit, go years, one girlfriend, well, not girlfriend, but something kind of happened, years again, nothing. And so I really never got the chance to learn how to talk to girls. So I was making that mistake where I would say things. And I remember the biggest one that ever happened was when I had a girlfriend of the longest time, which was the big breakup later on, not because of this reason, but later on, that really like got me started on self-improvement full force. But she was talking about it. I won't mention her name, but she was like, I was like asking her, I was starting to learn to ask her, oh, what do you think about, type of stuff you want to try, blah, blah, blah. Now, she brought up, oh, well, maybe like a threesome with two guys. I don't know. And like, I wasn't necessarily disgusted by it, and I wasn't trying to shame her. I just knew that I wasn't going to let that happen. That's just not what I'm into. It's like, that's not going to happen. So I was thinking that. So, but because I was inexperienced, I was just thinking from a logical man standpoint, like, oh, well, I don't like that, so that's not going to happen. So I guess that means that. And so I just said, like, yeah, I kind of would want to have a threesome with two girls, but since, I don't want to do that to cheat on you and blah, 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 so I guess it's just not going to happen. Okay, anyway, what else? And then, like, just completely, like, swatted it
Yeah, like
away.
no discussion about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no discussion, like, and so she stayed chill, and then for the next couple of days, she wasn't really talking to me very much. And at this point, we had been together for a while. And I was like, why are you in a bad mood? Like, I could not put two and two together. And then finally, she told me. That's one of the things about her that I really appreciated. She would tell me the truth. It just took her some time, right? And so, well, when I told you, you just pushed it aside and like didn't care and like it didn't matter and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, my bad. So I've done that. I've dismissed girls, not even trying to like put her down, but just being like oblivious to like, she's sharing something intimate. So like, even if I don't like it, even if it disgusts you, if you're asking, even you're like, that's gross, what the fuck? You don't need to, why would you?
That took
say
me a
that?
little while to get to that point as well. Yeah. I initially had some reactions where I'd be like, ew, I'm really not into that. Like the same as you, if there's multiple guys involved. I had quite a few. This is probably one of the most common fantasies that women have is a gangbang. And for the longest time, every time a woman would say that, I wouldn't be able to, I didn't hold back. And I was like, ew, no, that's gross. Like, blah, 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 blah. Because the idea for me personally of being in a room with multiple men having sex with women is just not something that I'm into. And I let that fact that it wasn't something that I wanted, I let that sort of cloud my judgment, and then I would put that onto the other person. And people do that all the time. They don't mean to. But I think when it comes to kinks and sexuality, because it can be such a vulnerable, intimate place that we go to or a space that we explore, people obviously have a very defensive reaction because it's like, I don't want something to happen to me that I'm not okay with. I don't want my boundaries crossed. And then I think we sort of imagine that situation. You imagine that gangbang. You have a very negative reaction to it, but then you say that to her and you're like, no, that's disgusting. I don't want to do that. And so I think if you're able to take a step back and just say, and take a big deep breath and go, that isn't really something that I'm into. And then here's the sentence that I love to say. And nobody has to say this, but I like to say this. I go, that isn't something that I really want to try, but I'm really curious, like what turns you on about that? And a lot of the time she will tell you what turns you on, what turns her on about it. And you go, well, I can give you that same feeling or that same fantasy that you're looking for, but just in a different way. Like maybe with a gangbang, she likes the idea of, because Imogen has a fantasy of being with multiple men. And we've explored that. And I've said, that isn't really something that I'm into, but why do you want that? And she says, well, because I want to be the center of attention. I like the idea of it being all about me. That feels amazing. And then I'm like, okay, well, what if me and the girl that we were seeing, we did that to you? We spent an entire day, we blindfolded you, we massaged you, we made it all about you, we put on your favorite music, we put on your favorite candles, and we both literally just went to town on you. And we just gave you pleasure upon pleasure upon pleasure for like an entire day. Would that feel good to you? Would that sort of scratch that same itch or help you fulfill that fantasy? And then, of course, she says, oh my God, that would be amazing. That's what I was looking for. And so I think if we're able to go a little deeper on the fantasies or the kinks and say, what is it about that actually turns you on, rather than just sort of saying like, oh, I don't want to explore that. Like, I think that gets us a little closer to that intimacy and that trust and that connection.
Absolutely. And and so I had to learn. I made those mistakes. But as I heard more stories and I finally started having more consecutive partners closer together, so I was learning at a better rate. Oh yeah. I would hear girls saying like, "Oh, my boyfriend, or my ex or whatever, um, told me like that it was gross when I made noises when I was giving him a blowjob or whatever." And it's like, what are you talking about? That's the best fucking part.
Yes, that's the hot part.
Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? That's
Yeah.
the best part. Like, make more noises. Like, what are you talking about? Just stuff like squirting, and they're like ashamed that they squirt.
Dude,
I'm like,
so many girls are
what
ashamed
the fuck
of.
are you talking about?
I know.
That's the
I know.
best part.
I know, but and maybe you've had this too, where a girl says,
Yeah.
"I can normally squirt, but I'm really terrified to do it," and I'm like, "No, I want you to do it," but because they've sort of gone through that embarrassment or that shame or that humiliation, I have to like literally have a conversation with them and be like, "Look, what if we put down a towel? What if I absolutely promise you, I swear to God, I'm not going to stop seeing you just because you squirted? What if I tell you how much of a fantasy this is for me?" Like, you have to kind of facilitate that. I guess trust.
Yeah.
It is trust. And rebuild that trust that maybe someone has broken unintentionally. But
Yeah. So I've heard a lot of stories, man. I've heard a lot of stories of like, and that's another thing. That's another thing to dovetail into this, is that the stories that girls tell about past experiences, it validates like what a lot of, not everything, but a lot of what red pill manosphere, game, dating, people talk about. You're like, yeah, she's talking about guys that are trying to buy her attention with money or food or whatever, and she's like, I don't even like this, like, he's so annoying, and I'll just take his stuff. Like, and I'm not saying it's good to use guys either, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, you're like realizing like, yes, this is what girls do, and this is the type of stuff that they're being given and having just constant attention thrown at them. But then these guys that are terrible in bed or very selfish in bed, like all these stories that you hear, you're like, yeah, it's just confirming what I had already known or teaching me a lesson of what not to do, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, I think that you've talked about that, is that like, ask them questions, ask a girl questions, because you will learn so much that will either confirm what you knew instinctually or like help you understand more. And that's super important, which I think is in a part of BDSM, the Dom and the submissive, is like, it's your job as a Dom to be asking these questions, to be, trying to find out what makes this girl tick, what experiences has she had, et cetera, et cetera. Like, ask those questions and really get to know her, see what she really feels and what other people have made her feel, good or bad, in the past.
yeah, man, I love that. That's one of my big missions with all of my content, amongst many other missions, but one of them is to facilitate the conversations between the sexes, and to get men and women talking to each other and asking these questions. Because, man, there's this weird meme that most of society has, that men are from, men are from Venus and women are from Mars, whatever, yeah. And, here's the Venn diagram that most people think, where there's like no overlap. And when you start having these conversations, you realize there's a huge, I know it's kind of hard to see, but there's a huge overlap in the Venn diagram. There's a lot in the middle. And I like to focus on the stuff in the middle. What do you like and what do I like? What do we have in common? Rather than seeing women as these weird alien species. And by the way, a hell of a lot of women see men as these unknowable, weird alien species who have no emotions and are just perfectly happy all the time and never get sad. And, we men are like, what the fuck are you talking about? But men do the same thing to women.
The world.
They just take whatever they want.
Patriarchy ruling the world.
Yep. They just show up every day and everything they want is given to them.
Yeah.
And men do the same thing with women. Men literally, ironically, make that same fallacy with women. They'll go, man, being a woman is so easy and you just get everything given to you and you have no insecurities ever. And every woman listening is going, what the fuck? Do men literally think we have no insecurities ever? And it's like, yeah, a lot of them do. They literally think you're up here on this pedestal and you're perfect. And so
it's pretty much what a woman is like
insecurities.
I mean, not all, but again, it's just like anxiety, insecurities. Like, it's literally part of the psychological profile of a female to be a little bit higher on that scale,
because it's more of a concern.
Yeah, they have to worry about physical problems, men overpowering them, just all kinds of different things that, like, their anxiety is high. I mean, that's really just natural. Like, they're supposed to be that way, to be honest.
I would be more cautious I would be more concerned with my own safety and with my own security, which is what insecurity is. It's a concern with your own security. I would be like that if I was smaller and less physically able. And also, yeah, we'll just leave it there. It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, this is one of the things that, like, why I feel like sex and, you know, pursuing women helped me step into my masculinity, is because I'm understanding more and more the perspective of a woman, because I'm trying to get with women. But as you understand women more, you're like, oh, that's why. Oh, that's why she acts this way. Oh, this is why women are, you know, again, not all, but it's just, it starts to make more sense. Like, your world starts to make more sense, and you start to empathize. You start to empathize with women and understand where they're coming from. You know, it's just, you're just, not that I was angry at women ever, but it was just, you become less like bitter and less upset once you learn what women really are. They're people. They're humans. They're female humans. The more you learn, the better you feel towards them.
It's very easy to be frustrated, bitter, and angry at something you don't understand. Buddhism, or Buddhists, have a saying, all suffering is ignorance. And the word ignorance just means like a lack of understanding or a lack of knowledge. As soon as you understand something, you don't really get pissed off about it anymore, because you understand. You're like, oh, no, I know why that is like that. You know, for instance, I don't know, pick something random. If you're annoyed that on dating apps, a whole bunch of women will match with you, talk to you once or twice, and then never reply to you again, which, by the way, is something that a lot of men get very angry about. I used to. If you're angry about that, it's because you don't understand. And so if you go to a woman, you know, a female friend or a woman that you're dating, and you say, hey, can I please have a look at your Tinder? And, you know, if she trusts you, she'll say, sure, here you go.
Yep.
Have a look at how many matches she has, or how many likes she has. You know, pay for Tinder Gold on her phone, or get her to do it, so you can see how many guys have swiped on her. And that number will blow your freaking mind. I put 2 screenshots of it in my Tinder guide because I feel like it was very important. You know, Imogen, when I asked her to see hers years ago, she had like 5,600 likes. And another girl that we were seeing had, you know, 6,000 something likes. And so you look at that and you're like, oh, this is why she doesn't reply, or some of them don't reply to my messages. They literally don't have time. And you can go one step further than that. And like you said, you can start asking questions. And so you can say to women, hey, you know, no judgment. I've noticed that a lot of women that I match with will kind of match with me and then they don't really reply. Have you ever matched with a guy and you talk a little bit, but then you don't reply? And of course, if she's honest, she will say, well, yeah. And then you can say, okay, how come? Like, and I'm not judging. Like, you don't have to explain yourself to me. I'm genuinely curious. Like, how come? And she will tell you, oh man, it's because I get really overwhelmed because I have literally like 100 matches right now. And I feel like such a bitch because I don't reply to all the guys. And I've tried so hard to go through and reply to everyone. But this weird thing happens. It's called a conversation. But when I reply to someone, they reply back. And so as I start replying to everyone, there's more conversation and I can't manage it. And I freak out and I exit out of the app and I disable the notifications, or I just ignore them. And I see at the top, it says, you have 52 new messages, and that scares the shit out of me. And so I don't go into the app, and it's too scary and I feel really bad and I'm such a bitch and I'm probably going to delete the app, but I don't even want to look at it. I've had this conversation with so many women. And when you understand that, it's no longer possible to get frustrated because you feel that anger, you feel that frustration. You're like, damn, why is this woman ignoring me? Why is she ghosting me? And then you're like, oh, she probably just has like 200 messages. In fact, now I feel a little bit of compassion for her. That's probably overwhelming. That might sound like a good problem to have to most men, but when you're actually there, and I've experienced it a little bit with content creation, you get a lot of people asking you for stuff. You get a lot of fucking emails and comments and people saying, can you do this for me? Can you do that? Can you do this? Can you do that? And it's not really possible to reply to all of them. And I don't really even have a big channel. And I think you're going to see this as you grow as well. Maybe you already have. A lot of people will message you and want your time. And that can become a little bit unmanageable at a certain point. And anyone listening, any guys listening, understand that, especially if a woman's on a dating app, but even if she's not, she has levels of abundance that you can't really imagine. And so with that can come insecurity and overwhelm and an impossibility or an incapability of replying to everyone that wants her time. And so if she's ignoring you, it's not personal. In fact, And if you ask most women, they will tell you this. She wants to fucking reply to you. She feels like a bitch for not replying to you, because a big part of most, feminine drive is to be kind to everybody and to be nice to everybody and not to disappoint anyone and never to let anyone down and to be agreeable and to not be a bitch. And so she actually feels bad for that. So when you really understand that, and that's why I love facilitating these conversations between men and women, or encouraging them, you don't suffer anymore. And then sometimes you can even say to her, oh, I understand why you don't reply. And she's like, oh, thank you for understanding. As you've obviously stepped into that over the years as well, especially being a dom. You can understand and show her that you understand. And then there's some fucking mutual, something beautiful in the middle there.
Yeah, man. It's so true that it's just like there are so many other things going on in her life, whether it be overwhelming or just her cat died. She's going through finals right now and whatever. Like there's so many other things. I know there's an article, a Good Looking Loser article that you talked about. I forget the title of it, but it's just like there's 1,000 reasons why she rejected you. She's late for work. She just got an unexpected bill and she has to pay. There's so many things going on. And it's just accepting reality. Again, the Stoic and the Buddhist philosophies that we're talking about here is that it's just like reality is what it is. You being upset or angry that she's not talking to you, that she's not answering you, that not enough girls are matching with you or whatever, isn't going to solve the problem. Being angry isn't going to solve it. And, if you learn to love what is, again, another book that you love. Yeah, that is the way it is. Why am I going to be upset over something that I can't change? I can change myself, try to get more matches or whatever. But other than that, it's out of my hands. And you learn to accept other people and the stuff that they're going through. And you learn to accept that reality is what it is. I can only looks max myself to a certain extent, pay for gold, get better pictures, go out and talk to women, learn to be more sociable, get help get over my social anxiety. That's it. And I can be happy with that, knowing I did everything that I could. And then it's not up to me. Right?
Yeah. And you can tie that into there's always more that I can do. So here's the way I'd phrase that. I'd say I did everything I possibly could right now in this moment. But as I progress in the future and as I keep working on myself and all of that, I'll be capable of doing even more. And so I'm on this journey to do more and more and more. But as long as in every moment I've done the best that I possibly could at that moment, it's not my job what the outcome is. It's not my job if a particular woman replies to me or not. It's not my business how she responds. It's not my business if she wants what I'm offering or wants to join me on this quest for sexual and intimate, fulfillment or whatever. None of that is my business. My business is to go to the gym, to look as good as I can, to be as kind as I possibly can, to work on my confidence, to work on my self-esteem, to learn to love myself, lose weight, whatever it is that I might want to do next. That's my fucking business. And then the outcome is not my business, because the outcome doesn't depend on me. It depends 50% on me. Like, did I put in a decent effort? Have I worked on myself? Do I have a decent enough product? Your product being like you yourself, I guess.
That's right.
And then the other 50% is what she fucking wants. And, if I'm, like me, Andy, right now, I am not in the market for buying a house or an apartment. Right? About 2 years from now, I have a mission with Imogen that we're going to travel the world and all of that. And for the next 2 years, I'm living in this apartment that I'm in, right now, right here, renting. So I have no fucking intention of buying a house. There is a woman in my shopping center who she has like a little booth, and she basically advertises for people to buy her apartment, blocks in her apartment, which are like $1 million or something. And every time I walk past her, she tries to get us to buy, obviously. It doesn't matter how hard she tries. She could get down on the floor and be like, I will suck your dick. I will lick your girlfriend's pussy and do the best job, and I will give you fucking, $50,000, and I will come on your podcast and do content with you. Please, I'll clean your apartment for a year. Like, it doesn't matter what she offers me. At the end of it, I'm going to say like, no, I was just never going to buy. And that is the case a lot with dating. They're just either not in the market, or they're not interested in what you're offering, or her cat just died, as you said, or she's grumpy, or she's tired, or she doesn't like men approaching her on the street, or she doesn't like online dating, or she's just not really that into men, or a million different reasons that have nothing to do with you. And this applies the other way as well. There are so many women listening right now that hunt men and just have a crush on them for years. And, lots of the women that I've dated have told me stories of how they have a crush on a guy for like 2 years and they're just sitting there pining for him, wishing they could have him. And then finally one day they get a little drunk and get the confidence to pry and say like, are you single or whatever? And then it turns out he's gay or something. And it's like, nothing you could ever do would make him want you. It's not up to you and it's not personal.
That's right. Yeah. And I really like that analogy because I've had this analogy in my head for a long time. And I don't sell cars or anything. I worked in the healthcare industry for 12 years. So I don't know anything about selling. If anything, I'm anti-selling. Like, oh, you don't want this x-ray? Okay, bye.
Yeah, we can't make you take it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, whatever. Okay, bye. Less work for me. So, but as little as I've studied about sales, I've been reading a book, The Psychology of Selling. Mm-hmm. And as I'm reading it, I'm like, literally, if you just replaced like sales with sex or, replace the client with a female, this is literally a dating book. Like everything they're talking about, asking questions, getting to know your client, finding out what their needs are, what they're in the market for, and then, having a good product, and then don't waste your time trying to tell them that your product is high quality. That's retarded. That's like a waste of time. It should be obvious that it's high quality, or else you wouldn't be trying to sell it, blah, blah, blah.
Correct.
It all has to do, it's all sales. And again, like you're saying, if they're not in the market, they're not in the market. It doesn't matter. Let it go. A good salesman moves on and gets new leads. They just move on. And so, dating, almost everything in life is sales, man. Like, it's really interesting.
It's to sales or dating or anything else really is two factors. It's first of all, have a really good product, and then second of all, play the numbers game. In other words, if it's dating, improve yourself as best you can and try and be the best person you can be, with the caveat that you're never going to be perfect and you don't need to be. And then put yourself out there, in front of as many people as you possibly can, and you'll find someone that you connect with. Sales, same thing. Try and help people and give as much value as you possibly can in whatever, whether that's a product or a service or whatever, and then put that in front of as many people as you possibly can. Through word of mouth, through marketing, through sales, through YouTube, like I do. It doesn't really matter, but put it out there. And everything that I've found so far has been like that. In other words, and this is what hippies and spiritual people and enlightened people and Buddhists and all of that talk about, is you're basically just putting it out there into the universe that you want something and you're just asking for it. That's all you're ever really doing. And part of that process is I'm offering something as well, of course, but that's all sex and dating is. That's all relationships are. That's definitely all sales or marketing or money or business is. It's just, here's what I'm offering, or here's what I'm looking for. Would you like to join me on this? Do you think this would be fun for you? And that's BDSM as well. At least the way that you and I like to do it.
And that's the importance, and this ties into the importance of authenticity. This goes into the importance of telling the truth, or at least not lying.
Yeah, and being honest and upfront about that as well.
Right. Because if your goal is to have a girlfriend or to have great relationships, if you're lying, if you're scheming, if you're like trying to put on a front, guess what? It's never going to work out. It's going to be like, oh, this product was not as advertised. Now I'm pissed. Now I'm upset. It's going to lead to a breakup or just problems. And that comes with dating, or it comes with a business partnership or friendship. You're trying to be friends with people, get to know people, but you were this fake, phony guy, and now you got to keep up the facade, and you might end up doing things that you don't want to do just to impress whoever, and you're miserable because you weren't being truthful. You weren't being true to yourself. And again, this has to do with being a man, in my opinion. Something that I worked on the coaching program a lot, which was one of my goals, is to just do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Do what I set out to do. Stop half-assing. Stop giving up. Go all the way with whatever it is you're doing. When you say it, you mean it. You're going to do it. It's going to happen one way or another. And we work on that. We're like, I'm really going to do this. And then it ends up falling through. But the point is to keep working at it. And That has to do with dating. That has to do with, and right now, I don't think that I've forgotten. At the very beginning, when I started the program, you're like, cool, setting a goal for you. You should probably try to make, or it would be cool if you made like $500 on your own to learn how to be your own businessman. I was like, yeah, I'll get right on it. Haven't done it yet. It's been months. So I admit that that's one thing that I like haven't done yet.
Yeah, but you've taken the steps towards that. That's your YouTube channel. Give yourself some credit. It's not like you've sat around eating Doritos and watching Netflix and jerking your dick and going, oh, look at me, I'm doing nothing. Like you're taking the steps towards that.
Right, exactly. But it's like, you sometimes will bite off more than you can chew, or get ahead, get the cart before the horse. But regardless, you're working on being that guy that keeps his word, be a man of your word, that you do what you want to do what you say you're going to do. And when you approach women, when you approach a business partner, when you are making an online presence, you don't have to tell everybody everything about you, but at least don't lie. And to be truthful and honest. And like you said, you're putting that out into the universe. You're going to start attracting people that are attracted to who you really are, what you're really about. And then you'll be surrounded by people that love you for real, that like you for real. And that's, how could you say no to that?
Yeah, and on that note, understand that everything is screening, everything is filtering. Every action that we take and everything we say, we are constantly in a process of screening and filtering people. We're filtering people into our lives, like we're attracting them in, and we're filtering people out of our lives. And so to piggyback off what you said before, if you go around and you're sort of dishonest and you're using like sales technique, like salesman techniques, manipulation and all of that kind of stuff, and if you're doing that in your dating life as well, understand that you are filtering certain people in and filtering certain people out. And so the people who value honesty and integrity and kindness and just telling the truth and being upfront, they'll leave because they can sniff dishonesty a mile away. It feels weird. And it's very difficult to keep up a lie and do a good job of it. Even psychopaths can struggle with that. You have to be like a top 0.0001% psychopath. And even then, people can just tell that you're not being honest, like because you're not fully open. It's very easy to spot. And so those people will leave. People that want your honesty or want honesty will run away. I would run the fuck away from. I run away from anyone who's even slightly not honest. And all you will be left with, what you will filter in, is people who are dishonest themselves. And that's the game that they play as they go through their life. And they're used to that. And so they'll go, oh, this guy's lying. He's trying to fuck me over. Cool, I'll fuck him over first. Or a woman will say, oh, he's trying to get something out of me. Well, I'll get it out of him first. I'll win. And it becomes this zero-sum game where you're fighting each other and you come to blows and, maybe not physically, although maybe physically. And you're trying to screw each other over. You're trying to screw the other person over before they screw you over. However, if you do the opposite and you put out your intention of, I want to be honest, or at least as honest as I possibly can. And if I make some mistakes, that's okay. But I'm going to try and be as honest and upfront and have integrity as best as I can. People who are dishonest run the fuck away from you because you can't be manipulated and you will quickly spot that. They know that you will spot their lies. And so they don't want anything to do with you. You're also holding up a giant mirror to them. When you talk about honesty and integrity and openness and how much it's affected your life and how it's been such a wonderful gift and all of this, it's very fucking uncomfortable to the person who's lying to themselves and to other people. It's very uncomfortable. And so they'll run away. And you'll be left with, or you'll attract people, or you will give people the courage to become someone who is more honest themselves. And so they'll step up to the plate. They'll embrace that honesty, that integrity, and all of that. And so, like you said, you're just left with a community or, sexual relationships or intimate relationships or friendships built on foundations of trust and, openness and kindness. And you don't have to be perfect with any of that at the start. And most people take a little while to build that. But it's like you have those foundations there and you're striving for something more rather than a zero-sum game where I have to win and you have to lose or vice versa. It's no longer a battle with people. You're on the same team as them.
Absolutely. And like everything you're saying just keeps reminding me of Mode 1, Alan Roger Curry, talking about his approach of being very direct with women as to what he wants, because he's in his books, he very emphasizes multiple times, if you are straight up and honest with a girl, she cannot waste your time. She cannot lead you on. She cannot get meals or whatever out of you because you are not bullshitting around. You're letting her know you're interested, and she has to ante up, like right now, like either I like you or let's go on a date first or whatever. But she can't use you for your time or, a shoulder to cry on, be your friend, and then finally tell you, oh, she's not really interested. She can't do it because you were brave enough to ask for what you wanted from the beginning. And so that type of honesty that you preach and what Alan Roger Curry preached, rest in peace, all of that stuff has really appealed to me a lot, because it just goes in line with my ethics of trying to be honest, trying to be truthful, trying to do what I think is right no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned in the coaching, or you mentioned at the start that the coaching had sort of helped you with that. Yeah. I'd love to know how specifically, because you struck me as pretty upfront and honest and someone that did, for the most part, stick to his word. But do you feel like that was something that you were? Because I know that's why you joined the coaching program. So I'm interested to hear it from your words. Did you feel like you needed more help with that?
I did, because I had already started being, upfront with girls before I joined the program. And again, I didn't join the program specifically for girls. It was more for getting started with a new life and quitting my job and everything like that. But that honesty, that being real, has to do with telling myself what I really want.
Yeah.
And then sticking to it and not being a phony, a fake, a liar, if you will, that once I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And so when I joined the coaching program, I was, I had been wanting to quit my job, change my life, all that stuff for years. And finally it's like, this is the time. Like, I have saved enough money. I can do okay. I'm not stupid. Stop making excuses. Stop lying to yourself. Be honest that this is what you want and follow through and do it. So that honesty, not with women, but with myself, and with like what I want and what I actually need to do to make this happen. That's what I needed. And so when I was in the coaching program, man, I was struggling with fear. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. I'm going to die. I'm going to starve to death, even though I got plenty of money in the bank. It's like, oh, the economy could crash any day and my stocks are going to go down. And oh God, I feel something weird with my rib and I'm going to have to go to the doctor. I don't have health insurance anymore because I'm American and this is all fucked. And oh shit, I'm going to have to go to Mexico and get a surgery. I don't know. Every little ache and pain, I'm like catastrophizing it in my head. I've never been a hypochondriac before, but literally I was sort of becoming one because of the fear, because of the anxiety of being honest, saying, this is what I want, and I'm going to do it. And luckily, again, through your coaching and through all the other great coaches on there, learning, I knew that I should do it. I had done it in the past, but learning to continue to speak to my anger, learning to speak to my fear, learning to speak to my self-doubt, all the negative emotions, literally speak to them because that's literally me, and literally speak to them lovingly. And like all of those things that you helped me through, reminded me, coached me through, really helped me calm my anxiety down. Yeah, we all get anxious and we're all going to, be afraid and worry sometimes, but it's like, okay, I'm not dying and I can tell the truth and be true to myself and try to be living a life that I genuinely care about instead of living almost a lie, of this professional, I went to college, I can't quit my job because I put so much time, sunken cost fallacy, this is a great job, I make $100K a year, blah, 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 I shouldn't step away from this is a big mistake. Like, no, I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I create, I'm active, I like to date. I don't like working graveyard. I don't like working night shift. I don't like being on call on weekends to where I can't date people very often. Like, I don't like this. Be truthful. Tell yourself, no, this is not the life that I want. And I know the life that I want. I'm going to get it. So that honesty is what you guys helped me with.
Yeah, it's that self-honesty. You can't be honest with someone else until you're honest with yourself. And that's a big mission for my coaching, obviously, but even, my content in general is, I say this to people all the time, man. I literally had this conversation with someone right before you when I sat down here today. I did a coaching call and I said, dude, the only question that matters is what do you want? Because he basically, this guy came to me, as a lot of people do, where they're asking me for the right answer. They're like, Andy, what should I do? What is the right answer? And it's like, it doesn't fucking matter what I think. What do you actually want? It's like you said, you got to get honest with yourself about what it is that's important to you, what you want your life to look like, what kind of person you want to be, whether you're a man, you're a woman, you're a cat, you're a dog, doesn't matter. But get very clear about what it is that you want and what direction you want to move in. Right. And then and only then can we go in that direction. I think there's a lot of self-deception. And like you said, people living someone else's dream or living someone else's life because it's the right thing to do. Well, I went to college and I shouldn't waste this. And it's like, why? What bad thing happens if you waste a college degree? What bad thing happens if you start your own business? What bad thing happens if you take that leap of faith? Other than fears and some stories and narratives that might play out, and maybe some gentle questioning from people that care about you. Like, is this a good decision? Why are you doing this? Other than that, nothing fucking bad happens, and you have every opportunity or every chance of something beautiful happening. But if you're working a job that you don't really like, or you're living a life that you don't really want, or you're, spending your time and energy and your days fulfilling someone else's dream, I don't know that there is a chance that something beautiful will happen. And I think people sit there daydreaming of maybe one day I'll magically win the lottery, or I'll get a promotion, or I'll meet Prince Charming or something. And it's like, how? You're taking no steps towards that. I would rather, instead of saying, I'm going to buy a lottery ticket and hope I win, I'd rather make my own fucking lottery ticket. I'd rather take those baby steps and build that future and start with that foundation and then just slowly rise up from there.
Dude, just mentioning that, daydreaming and wishing that you win the lottery. Dude, literally, okay. This is a problem. And I think that we could talk about what you think about, actively talk about, actively speak about is so important. Because it literally it sounds like some hippie shit. I never would have believed it, but it's literally true to visualize and to think about what you want realistically. Not I want a pet unicorn, but realistically in life, that it's powerful. Because I know I'm like most guys that are into self-improvement. We're always constantly stuck in our head thinking about what could be or what we should have done. And I remember, for literally, this is my thing that I did. I don't do it very much anymore, hardly ever. But I would sit as a young kid or just graduated college or whatever, and I would be in the shower and be in the shower for literally an hour. And I would be thinking about what it would be like if I went back in time in high school and if I had talked to this girl.
I used to do the same shit.
If I had started the band, if I knew that this stock would have gone, and then I could have done this, and then I could have talked to this person, then I could have dated this girl. But I like this girl other, so maybe I could do this. And I would spend hours and hours every single fucking day for years wishing about things that will never fucking happen.
Yes.
And that is hell. That is literally hell. You feel good because you're thinking of all these cool things that would happen, but you're literally stuck in this wormhole, black hole of nothing. You are wishing for things that could have happened that never will, and you will continue to do nothing with your current time. And so you're stuck in purgatory. And I had to, has to do with rumination. I very much was a big ruminator. Also thinking about things that could happen, worrying about things that could happen, and running it over and over and over in my mind 100 times about what could happen, an argument that could break out. And so how would I respond, whether it's a political argument? I was working in a toxic work environment, so always problems happening. What am I going to have to say to, deal with this person that's lazy, or deal with this person that's too demanding, or blah, blah, and always living, again, in hell of not reality. Things that have not happened yet. Maybe they could, but you have no idea. And you continue to not live a real life You're stuck in your mind, either thinking about things in the past that you could have done or thinking about things in the future that may not happen. And that was a big thing that I had to break myself of. It took time because I didn't realize that it was a problem. I just realized I was miserable a lot of the time. Journaling helped. Meditation helped a lot. Meditation helped a hell of a lot, where you're able to just focus on your breath, and when thoughts come in, you let them go and you come back to your breath. All of those things help. Like, that is such a big thing that I think a lot of guys struggle with, is just cyclical thoughts, rumination. If I went back to high school, if I had only done this. Don't do that, guys. You got to break yourself from that. It's a process, but man, it's liberating when you do.
And along with that, spending a lot of time, a lot of people spend a lot of time, I certainly did, telling yourself you don't deserve any of this shit. Like, there will be people in my audience and your audience as well who will watch this interview, or they'll watch any of the previous interviews with any of the coaching clients, and they will tell themselves a story of, yeah, but this guy deserves it because of X, Y, Z. He can change his life because he's handsome. He has muscle. He's attractive. Right. And it's like, well, he wasn't when he started. You didn't have muscle when you were a 10-year-old kid, right? Like,
whew, I was ugly as fuck, man. I let myself go. I wasn't fat, but shit. It's all a process, dude. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's that feeling of I don't deserve. And I was having this conversation with an Uber driver like a week or two ago, and he was asking about my website and asking about the content and stuff like that, and asking about the coaching. And he said something along the lines of, why do most people not change their lives and not improve? And I said, well, I'm curious, like, what do you think the answer is? And he thought about it for a bit, and he said, it's probably that they feel like they don't deserve to achieve their goals. And I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good answer. Yeah, that's my experience. And he said, okay, so what would you say to the person who feels like they don't deserve? And I said, fuck deserving, do it anyway. I've never felt like I deserved any of this shit, but I just took the action anyway. Yeah. And he sat there for a bit and he was like, damn, that's really deep. And I said, it's really not. Just take some action. It's really not as deep as you're making it out to be, but people make self-improvement and goals and money or sex or love or relationships or happiness or peace or enlightenment or any of this shit, losing weight. They make it into this big mountain and this big scary thing. And we come up with all of these reasons why it doesn't apply to us and why we're the exception that can't do it and why Chris here can do it and Andy can do it and 50,000 other fucking coaching clients can do it, but I can't because of X, Y, Z. At the end of the day, you're either going to do it or you're not. You're either going to take the action and exactly, man. You're going to take the steps and take that action towards it, and deserving or feeling worthy or feeling like you're ready. That's another bullshit excuse that people make all the time. None of that matters. It's just, did I take the action or not? Did I work towards this or not? Right. And you probably didn't feel ready when you signed up for the coaching.
No. And this is the thing, the ready thing was another big obstacle. Because again, I'm ruminating, I'm thinking of all the things that could go wrong, so I have to be prepared, right? Because there's 100 things that could go wrong, so I need to make sure I have all my ducks in a row before I quit my job, move out of state, whatever you want to do, talk to girls, whatever. Before I can buy something that I've been wanting to get, I got to make sure I have enough padding, and I mean, don't go broke, okay? Let me bring that back a little bit. Like, be wise with your cash, but still, that like you would overly compensate for things. You got to prepare before you do things. And it's like, dude, there are certain things. If you're going to go scuba diving, yeah, you should probably train and prepare and make sure you have oxygen in your tank. But most of the things that we do in our life, you're not going to die, dude. And I had to tell myself that. It was so hard to do. Because at the beginning of this year, I just decided I had had enough. I was getting angry at work over nothing. It's a stressful work environment, but it's just like, the computer isn't working, and I just like start smashing the keyboard or punching the screen. I'm like, dude, I can't believe that I'm physically acting like this. And it happened a few times, and luckily no one saw, because that would have been scary. But like, I was like, dude, I'm done. I can't do this. And so that fear of what I was becoming that was higher than the fear of going before I was ready.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like the pain of not changing finally exceeded, the pain of staying the same or whatever. And so like it finally pushed me and I was like, I gotta go. And so at the beginning of the year, I had signed up to do psychedelic therapy for the first time. I had never done drugs. I had never smoked a joint. I have never smoked a cigarette. I drank occasionally, and I had like the first drink I had was at 28 years old, and you know what I mean, like, and just did a couple times. Like I don't like it, so I was like, I just gotta do it. I mean, I had signed up months ahead of time. It's like I'm doing this, but then when I did that, I was like, you know what? I gotta sign up for Andy's coaching. And I gotta take time off of work to fix my mental state because I'm in this state of anger and frustration and resentment and depression, like everything at once. And it's been going on for literally years, but it's finally coming to a head. So that pain pushed me beyond being ready. It's like, I just gotta do it. I don't feel ready, but I have to do something. And so psychedelics, one of the best things I ever did. Incredibly important. And then joining your coaching, incredibly important. Quitting my job, finally committing, incredibly important. I wasn't ready for any of it. I wasn't. But sometimes you have to just take a leap of faith in yourself and say, I've made it this far. I know I can make it again. And also, what helps, Andy, is that examples like you, seeing you and your other coaching clients that have come onto your channel, seeing them like, oh my God, they're doing it, they're making it. Whatever it is that they do, it doesn't matter if it's directly related to me. It's like these people finally took the plunge in whatever, and they're doing it for real. And it's like, okay, all of that is beautiful examples and encouragement that are very valuable. And so whether it be joining a coaching group and seeing the change in everyone, or whether it just be watching your channel, it's inspiring. And so like, yeah, I'm not ready, but you know what? They're jumping into it. Let's go, dude. Like let's make this happen. Let's just stop fucking around. Let's fucking do this. And yeah, I wasn't ready, but you gotta start. Gotta start.
Yeah, man. I haven't felt ready for anything that I've ever done. No exceptions to that. Like nothing, not a single thing. I wasn't ready to lose weight, so I did it anyway. I wasn't ready to go out and start talking to women, so I did it anyway. I was definitely not ready to start a relationship with Imogen and build something, so I did it anyway. She wasn't ready for half of what she's done. You know, I wasn't ready to start doing coaching, but I did it anyway. I wasn't ready to charge money for people for coaching, so I did it anyway. I wasn't ready to raise my prices. Every single time I have raised my prices, it has been terrifying to me. I was not ready to talk about how I went to prison, but I did it anyway. I was not ready to write that big, long depression article about how I overcame my depression, so I did it anyway. I wasn't prepared to help the first suicidal client that I had, but I did it anyway. I wasn't prepared to coach the first woman that I coached, but I did it anyway. I haven't been ready for any of this shit. Like, none of it. I was not ready to move. Like, none of this I've been ready for. Why the hell would I be ready for it? I haven't done it. Being ready or confident, which is really what being ready is, being prepared requires, like, you would have to have already done the thing to know what steps you would need to take to be competent and confident and good at it. So it is like a contradiction of terms. It's an oxymoron, but people hang so tightly onto it, don't they? They're like, I'm going to do it when I'm ready. Okay, what would being ready look like? And then when you actually explore that, you're like, well, I guess I'd feel ready if I'd already been doing this for 7 years. I'd feel very, I'd feel very ready to talk to women and hit on them. And if I'd already had sex with like 20 of them and I knew what I was doing. Wait, that's putting the cart before the horse. I'd feel ready to do coaching if I was already, 4 weeks into the coaching group and I knew what it felt like and I knew how much Andy and the other people cared, and I knew that everyone there was nice to me and no one was going to judge me, and I knew that they were going to help me and actually improve, and I knew that the money wouldn't be a waste of money, and I knew that I could actually succeed and I wasn't the exception, and I knew that this would actually pay off and I would really get the life that I want. That's how I would know. And it's like, how the fuck are you going to know that before you sign up for the program? And so there's this weird disconnect, man, when I sit down with people or when I do content like this right here, where, partly this is to share your story, and then obviously partly this is to encourage other people to do what you've done and sign up for the coaching.
Join the coaching. Join the coaching.
But there's this weird disconnect, man, where it's like I and then you and anyone else who sits down goes like, honestly, the coaching's really worth it. Just fucking sign up. And I know that. But the person listening has this almost like leap of faith that is required to jump and go like, well, what if Andy, everything he's saying applies to everyone on the planet except for me? What if I am the exception? Or what if Andy really can't help me? Or what if I'm just so fucked up that I can't be saved? Or what if, I don't know, something comes up and I need money urgently and I just gave a big bunch of money to Andy and now I'm fucked? Or what if, I get halfway in there and I realize that I'm just not good enough and I can't do this and I actually go out to try and talk to women, or I start a business and I fall apart and I can't do it. All of these fears come up, and there's such a weird disconnect where I'm sitting here basically extending my hand and saying, take my hand. I promise you I won't let you fall. I will look after you. So will everyone else in the group. So will all of the structures and shit that we've built in place, all of the videos that we have holding your hand, the fact that we have a members-only accountability, like basically an extra coaching program that you get to be in during and after the coaching for the rest of your fucking life. Like, we will look after you for the rest of your life. But there's still like me putting my hand out, and the person has to go like, I'm scared. And they take my hand and then they're like, please don't let me fall. And you're like, what, have you actually looked down? You're standing on the ground. You're not going to fall. And they're like, no, I must be like 100 feet up. I'm going to fall and die. And you're like, dude, look, you're just standing on the ground. You're fine. Like, all the rest of us are standing here going, come to this group. Come here. We want you. Like, do you want to come and join us? And it's that weird like leap of faith that has to be made. And I'm understanding of it. I empathize with it. I completely get it. But it's this weird fucking position to be in where I don't know for everyone, but I know for like 99.99999999999% of people that sign up, we can get you the thing you want. We can build you something beautiful. We can help you do that. And I know that, but the person that I'm speaking to doesn't know that. So it's such a weird position to be in. And there's this saying that resonated with me in like, Alex Hormozy said it. And he said, if the person that you're talking to, if the audience member or the person who's thinking about coaching, if they knew everything that was in your head, like if they had the understanding that you had, as in, this can help you, it will help you, you'll be fine, I promise you can do it, I promise that it's okay if you don't feel ready. Like, if they just understood all of that, there wouldn't be any hesitation. Like, if they really understood, they'd be like, bro, take my money, please. I don't even give a fuck if I have to take a bank loan. But they don't know that. And so it's a weird position to be in where you're almost not convincing the person, because I don't want to sit there and convince someone that doesn't want to be convinced. That's not what I want. But you're trying to put that information out there as best you can so that somebody can look at that and go, fuck, I really don't feel ready. I'm taking such a leap of faith, Andy. And I've had people literally say this to me when they first sign up. They're like, please don't let me fuck this up. Or they're like, Andy, please, I'm really trusting you. Andy, please don't like betray me. Please don't hurt me. And women obviously say that. And maybe you've had that too with BDSM, where you're about to go in the bedroom and they're like, please don't hurt me. When I first met Imogen, she said, please don't be a serial killer. And I was like, I'm not. Like, it's a leap of faith.
I've never had that, but like, no, you're absolutely right, man. That it's like, I was going to correlate it to dating as well. Yeah. That it's like, just like your product, like the coaching is amazing. It is exactly what you need as far as like having a tribe of people that are going to push you in a loving way, that are going to think of things that you maybe haven't thought of, because all the coaches and Andy and everybody else have been there before. So they know exactly. They've been working on this for years. They can help you. They have so much value. But yes, when I joined, I was like, man, I love this guy. I trust this guy. But man, I'm still like, I don't know. Yep. But I just decided to do it. And yes, everybody else is going to feel the same way. But it's just like with women, like, and I hate to say it, but it's just like, I know how fucking cool I am. And I know how fucking awesome I am. I know what type of a generous lover I am. I know that I have zero ill will to try to, I'm going to use this bitch and just get what I want and fuck her. Like, no, I'm like, I want her to have fun and enjoy herself. I want to be honest. But it's like, she's going to miss out. It's unfortunate. But if she's like, no, I don't want to. It's like, oh, well, I guess she missed out. Like, she literally doesn't know what she's missing. Now, if that isn't cocky, I don't know what is, but it's okay. It's like, she misses out on me, or, a girl dating you, she misses out on Andy. Pfft, that sucks. But it's like, she would have a great time if she did. But when it comes to a product or like your product, it's just like, man, dude, trust me. Please. If you're watching this, if you've been doubting, just watch the other interviews of past clients. Ravi, powerful one. Ed, powerful one. Cam and Taylor and everybody else, just like, listen to them. These are real people. I've been talking to them. They're coaches. Been talking to them, and it's like, this is real. These people actually care. They're passionate about this. They're passionate about getting you what you want. It doesn't have to be about women. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be a woman. I didn't join to learn how to get girls. I was doing okay, and I still need to work on my cold approach and stuff. But like, what I was looking for was the courage to change my life, to get a new job, start a new career, start a YouTube channel, and start working on music and other things. And I got that. I got that courage. I got that support. I got that basically I just got a yes. Yes, you are allowed to, Christian. You are allowed to do this. You are not crazy. You are not bad. You shouldn't feel guilty for doing this. You should not feel ashamed. Do it. And that alone, having multiple people working together on all their different goals, and then continuing to have that access to support, accountability, big one, where people are checking in. How are you doing? How far have you gotten? Why did you stall? You didn't quite get as far this week. What can we do to work? All of that is invaluable. And so I know you might have doubts about it. I had doubts about it. It is money well spent. Just make sure that you show up ready to work and give it your all, because just the money alone is a commitment, but this is them helping you learn how to live your life. They can't live it for you. There isn't some formula, like you were saying. People are asking you, what should I do? And it's like, what do you want to do, buddy? And so like, you need to come with that mentality, like, I'm here to work, but that like, I am going to absolutely have the best team behind me, encouraging me all the way. That's what this program is about. I have zero regrets about it. I would do it again. I would do it again earlier, because I could have gotten through so much other stuff in my life. You know what I mean? So it's just like, dude, do it, man. Like, if there's any doubt, pull that trigger, baby. Pull that trigger.
That was beautiful, my man. Dude.
I'm working on my sales, man.
Dude.
I'm working on my sales pitch.
I want to cut the interview
You're the man,
there.
Andy.
I'm happy to keep talking to you, but like off the air. Dude,
What?
as you were saying that, I was like, okay, that's the fucking end speech. What the fuck, man? I can't believe you just pulled that out of your ass.
Bro. Listen, man. It's because I've been practicing telling the truth, my guy.
Yeah.
That's why I can say it, because it's literally true.
I appreciate
You're
that.
a champion,
man.
Andy.
I appreciate that.
And you're a champion. I'm a champion. And everybody who's watching this is a fucking champion, because you're trying to change your life for the better. That's what my channel is about. That's what your channel is about. And I know you don't like to talk about, too big high-flung goals and like try to put all this burden, but dude, literally self-improvement saves the world, baby. That's all we do, is we get better. And that, in my opinion, is saving the world.
Yeah, man.
If I save myself and make myself better, that's the best way that I can save the world. My little piece. And you're saving the world, buddy, just by being you. Right?
I appreciate
Hell
that,
yeah.
man.